There actually is no will of God. God's will is your will, because you are God. You are all aspects of creation. And thus then whatever you decide is true for you is the will of God for you. Because the whole idea is that you were created to be a unique facet, a unique aspect of creation. And if you don't act like the you were created to be, then in that sense, you're not being true to yourself. You're not actually being true to the aspect. Now, yes, you have the ability to explore the experience of not being you, but you can't actually not be you. You're always you. So the idea in all the things we're talking about has nothing ever to do with the idea that you're not actually yourself. It all has to do with the idea that you've created an experience as if you're not yourself. All it takes is the realization that that's impossible, and then you will simply be yourself if you choose to. So it doesn't matter what happens, because you can always know that you can be yourself relative to that thing, and thus as yourself, that thing must be in your life for a reason, a positive reason, because you say so, because that's who you are, because that's who you prefer to be, and therefore you will have a relationship with it that will give you the same effect as the meaning you put into it. Because there is no meaning to life automatically. Life is meaningless. That's a good thing, because you are designed to give life meaning. That's your power as a creator. You give life meaning. So life has no meaning other than the meaning you give it. And the meaning you give it determines the effect you get, no matter what it looks like. Make sense?
Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes.
Why, thank you. Deal, big deal. I'll get another. I'll learn from it and rearrange things and attract what I need and get another. To go down roads to discover what doesn't work so that you can discover what does. The difficulty that you've created for yourself is in your negative reaction to certain scenarios. Well, you have to not react negatively to those scenarios to get them to work for you. Because if you don't put a positive meaning into even that kind of circumstance, you're never going to get the positive effect from that circumstance. You're only going to get the negative one based on the negative meaning you put into that thing happening. Make sense? So what you are now going to be practicing, I assume,
Tell me, please.
is the idea that no matter what happens as you build your business, as you follow your excitement, no matter what happens, you are going to know, not guess, not wonder, not even believe, you're going to know that what just happened, whatever it is going to serve you like never before. You have to know that. And thus, when you know that, you will behave like you know it. You need to be her.
Okay.
In all circumstances, no matter what. Are you her? Is that who you prefer to be? Yes. Then that's who you must behave like, no matter what. Because that's what she would do. You understand? That's what she would do. No matter what. Because that's the kind of life she lives. Because that's the kind of life she prefers to live, no matter what. And she knows the sacred mantra. So what? This happened, so what? All right, I've learned something. Let's pick ourselves up and move forward.
Okay.
That's the behavior, that's the stance, that's the body language, that's the energy. I try, which means you don't really believe it's going to work.
Okay.
You're just trying it.
Okay.
You're not gravitating to it. You're not attracting yourself to it, knowing that it's just a reflection. You're trying to get that to work. It's just a permission slip. All tools are permission slips. The tool only triggers the ability for you to give yourself permission to be who you are. The tool doesn't do it for you. You have to attract yourself to whatever tool, if you need a tool at all, that is simply aligned with your belief system so that the tool will trigger you to allow yourself to give yourself permission to let it be all right to be who you know you would prefer to be.
Okay.
You can't try to get the circuit to work for you. You just have to find that you work for it. You gravitate. It's a relationship. You work together. You work with it. You understand? But if you don't find that in that sense you are attracted to it, then attract what does reflect permission to you. You have to use your imagination and open up to the possibility that something else may work for you. But the bottom line is you're the one who's changing. You're the one who's working. These are just reflections. They're just reflections. Do you understand this? You're trying too hard. You need to relax. Relax. What's your rush? You're an eternal, infinite being. What's your hurry? Where are you going? The only place you're ever going to wind up is right here and right now. Anytime you look around, what time is it? Now. Oh, what time is it now? Now. What's your hurry? Where have you got to go in such a rush? Well, slow down, enjoy, be here, enjoy. Whatever you're doing, enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Unconditional love to you as well. Now and then, take a few deep breaths. A moment. When I say perfect, I mean that at this moment, I am the perfect version of whatever I am at this moment. I will change, you will change. But whatever you are at any given moment, whatever that definition is a perfect representation of that definition. Doesn't mean you won't grow. It doesn't mean you won't change. Perfect does not mean an end. An effort? No effort at all. Remember, we don't do anything that doesn't excite us. Are they both equally exciting?
They seem to be.
Do you have the same degree of ability to take action on both of them?
Yes.
Then it doesn't matter which way you go, because if one, in that sense, needs to end or divert you, then it will automatically contain the synchronicity that will turn you toward the other one when it needs to. There to be two different things that excite you are just two different expressions of the same overall umbrella excitement. Just be that both things are representative of your excitement as expressions of your excitement, and therefore it doesn't really much matter which one you do at any given moment. Since all excitement is connected to all other excitement. Exactly. So once you decide your preference, then you will know what to do. And the idea may be that you need a bigger definition to include something larger. Because maybe your definition of a relationship is limited in such a manner as to make this seem like a problem when it may not actually be. Taking action every moment that you can to the best of your ability on whatever does excite you, taking it as far as you can. There is a balancing act here. Yes, the primary thing is to act on your highest joy, to be true to yourself. Your conundrum is, what is yourself? The idea also then to answer that question is, in being true to yourself, are you also being of service to others? The idea thus then of the relationship is having this relationship in this form representative of A, being true to yourself and her being true to herself, and B, if you decide on whatever you decide, is that decision also based on not only being true to yourself but being of service to her? Clarity and being honest with yourself about what is really most important to you, vibrationally speaking, that represents your highest joy. And knowing that you can contain many things within that, but you may be setting up a contradiction for yourself to give yourself the opportunity to really decide what you actually truly desire. For the next 3 nights, we would suggest that you simply get into a relaxed posture, a state of repose, of meditation if you wish, and over the next 3 nights, ask for assistance for clarification of who you truly are vibrationally. And over the next 3 nights, you can receive assistance to help clarify the situation for you. Sink in, don't have to make a hasty decision, just allow it to sink in a manner until you are certain you have absolute clarity about your relationship to the circumstance and everyone in it. Clarity about your relationship to everyone in the situation and the situation itself as to why you believe you find it exciting. Because sometimes clarity can show you that something you may actually be labeling as excitement may not be, and something you're not labeling as excitement might be. You need absolute, precise clarity as to what is truly exciting and what may simply be being disguised as excitement because it's something you may wish to avoid.
Okay.
I will help you, if you accept it, because you have to help yourself. Question, knowing that if you really, really were being completely negatively egotistical, you probably wouldn't have thought of the question. Yes? In other words, knowing that you might be doing out of a negative ego gives you the opportunity to realize whether or not you are. And thus it gives you something to work with. And thus it allows you to know that if you truly had been in your negative ego, it wouldn't have dawned on you to wonder whether you were in your negative ego. You understand?
Okay.
So you automatically can see that you have your own check and balance system. And thus then you have the ability to discern the difference between the two. Yes?
So just keep applying that same...
Yes.
Okay.
Always ask yourself, am I doing this for a positive or a negative idea? Take a moment and find out what's going on with you. You have the ability to discern the difference. Or you wouldn't have had the capacity to even ask such a question.
Okay.
You are employing one belief or another, one state of being or another in any given action. Even if the action seems to be a hybridization of many different qualities, that's still its own definition and its own state of being and its own action. It's just being defined as if it's a blending of other things. Did that make sense in your language?
Yes,
Does that help you?
it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Synchronicities in that way are often simply markers that you are creating for yourself to let you know that you're on your own true path, that you're staying in the vibration you prefer. Synchronicities are like road signs that let you know you're on the road you prefer to be on.
Sounds great.
Yes.
Okay.
Many often times in your reality, this will happen with numbers. It's quite common. You'll see certain numbers over and over and over again. This again are synchronous road markers that you're giving yourself to let you know you're in the vibration that you prefer. It's another aspect of you. Visiting yourself from a higher level to allow you to understand what your potential is, what you're capable of, what you can mirror, what you can reflect in your reality in your own way. It's like looking into a cosmic mirror. You understand?
Yes.
So it's like getting a message directly from your higher self. This is what you are, truly more what you are. Be more this, and you will be more in alignment with your true self. Or that the idea of the linear experience is just a self-imposed experience that defines one particular kind of vibration of reality. It's not, in that sense, a law that there must be an experience of linearity. But you can have combinations of linear and non-linear functioning in the reality as long as you define that as possible for your reality. Reflecting to you more and more of who and what you actually truly are if you choose to see yourself that way.
Beautiful.
About vibration, which you already know. And so when you experiment and explore the concept of resonant vibrations, especially those that are representative of states of being that you prefer, then from that state, creating music from that state will always allow the music to express that state.
Great.
All change is simply a shift to a parallel reality with different conditions. You don't ever actually change any one reality. You simply shift out of it. Think of it in terms of shifting to avoid danger. You're actually locking yourself into it because you're approaching it from a negative vibration of fear, as opposed to simply shifting into a reality that is representative of what you prefer in positive terminology.
Okay.
Nevertheless, at the same time, whatever does happen, respond to it in a positive way. Because it's not about whether the outside changes, it's about whether you change in relation to it. That's what tells you you've actually changed. Not that the outside has changed, because very often the outside will not change because all things on the outside are just illusions and can serve double duty. And if you respond to it in a different way other than the way in which you used to, that you say you don't prefer, then you've proven to the universe that you've actually changed, and then you give the universe the best opportunity to reflect the change in an outward illusionary way. But it isn't about whether or not the outside changes. It's about whether or not you respond differently, even if it stays the same, that proves you've changed. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Again, remember, physical reality is just a mirror. And if you see the reflection in the mirror frowning, you don't go over to the mirror and try to change the expression on the reflection's face. That will never work. When you change the expression on your face, then the mirror's reflection has no choice but to smile back at you.
Nice.
But if you make it a condition that the reflection has to change first in order to prove that you're happy, then the mirror reflection will continue to frown because it can't change before you do. Out allowing whatever is happening to be what needs to happen, because the paradox is when you allow what is happening to be what needs to happen and have a different attitude and energy toward it, you give it the best opportunity to let you shift to a reality where another reflection can be given to you. Not that it has to. You just give it the best opportunity. You give yourself the best opportunity to shift when it doesn't matter whether or not you do. That's the paradox. Because you know that no matter what happens, it's only going to have a positive effect in your life. Why? Because you say so. Is there anything that would contradict you? No, only you. What you are attracted to is what works for you. Whatever you're not attracted to doesn't work for you. Use what you are attracted to. If you change your mind about what attracts you tomorrow, use that. But the point is whatever you're attracted to because that's what's working for your vibration right now. So yes, you don't have to ask, will this work? You can decide this will work or it won't. Because remember, all tools, all techniques, all rituals, all objects is just a permission slip. That's all it is. It's something that allows you to align that idea, that trigger, that tool with your belief system to allow yourself to give yourself permission to be more of who you are. Those things aren't doing anything anyway. You're doing it, but you're attracting yourself to a permission slip that for some reason, based on how you've arranged your beliefs, somehow by incorporating that ritual, you have a belief that it will help you. And thus, that's what actually helps you, is that you are willing to give yourself permission to be more of who you are because your beliefs say that that's what will happen if you use that technique. But it's just a permission slip. So it's up to you to decide when you do and don't need those permission slips. And if you understand that everything is a permission slip, then anything can be a permission slip. And you can recognize that whatever you are excited to use, whatever you're attracted to use, will be the permission slip du jour. And if it changes tomorrow, as most menus often do, then that's what will work for you that day. But that's all it is. It's your permission slip of the moment. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes.
And?
It was interesting to hear your topic tonight because I have been contemplating having a new career.
Ooh, contemplating.
For a long time, actually.
For a long time, contemplating.
And one of the questions I keep asking myself is, in order to be on this new career, should I tell a story about myself?
Yes.
And you kind of answered my question because
Thank
I
you.
was going.
Actually, you answered it by attracting yourself here today.
Yes, and that, it's
Synchronistically to
amazing.
hear what you needed to hear. So you answered it.
Yes.
You understand that?
Yes, and it's
You really
amazing.
did. You answered it. Because what are you hearing right now? All you're hearing, all of you, is your own higher mind disguised as us. Tricky, aren't we?
Yes, you're very tricky.
And so are you. We are also a permission slip. Even though we are a real being unto ourselves, we are just a permission slip for you, in the sense that what you're actually talking with is your own higher mind, but you're allowing your higher mind to be disguised as us to give yourself permission to listen. Because for some reason you think you'll listen to us more than you'll listen to yourself. But you're only listening to yourself. You understand?
Yeah.
Does that help you?
Yeah, it does. And
And your career, your excitement would be what?
I would like to help people create change in their life based on my own
In
story.
what way? Specifically, what actions represent the idea of that particular creative expression that excite you the most?
Well, I just realized that people have a lot of behaviors that they would like to change, and I have, over the years, accumulated different methods to do that.
So you will use your imagination to apply all of this and bring it together in some sort of permission slip that might be of assistance to those that attract themselves to it.
Yeah.
Excites you the most will attract those who can relate to it. You understand how that works?
Yes, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yes. There are no two in that sense. You understand, we have said many, many times the idea of coinage on your planet. You have a coin, it has two sides. Yes?
Yes.
Head and tails. There's no one-sided coin. You ever had a coin with a head flipped it over, nothing there?
No.
It disappears? No, except in a magic act. But the idea is that all coins have two sides. If you have something to give, there is an audience to receive it, or you would not be excited about giving that thing. Because the universe, creation, doesn't do pointless things. And if you exist in a reality where you have something to give, the thing that excites you the most, then there is someone who wants to receive it from you just that way, and no other. So it's not about the idea of having to sit there and wonder whether it's going to be relevant. If it really is exciting to you and it's within the context of your reality to any degree whatsoever, you're going to find someone who will relate to it and be attracted to your particular expression of it. Do you understand? Just one energy. Whatever energy you are, that's you. Whatever that signature vibration is, that's you. You. Unique, you. Unique. So the idea is it's felt as excitement when you filter your energy through belief systems that are in alignment with your true self. You feel it as anxiety and nervousness when you flow the same energy through negative belief systems that are out of alignment. The nervousness tells you you have beliefs that are out of alignment. And as soon as you realign them, as soon as you transform them, then the nervousness and the anxiety transforms back into excitement because it's the same energy. And that gives you the opportunity to find out what those beliefs are. So the fact that you experience the nervousness is exciting because the nervousness is letting you know you have unconscious beliefs that you don't prefer. And that's exciting to discover that because now you have something to work with. Now you have something that you can use in your story in a conscious way. Yes?
Yeah, I guess.
So being nervous is exciting because it allows you to discover what you didn't know about yourself that will add to more and more of your excitement. Yes?
And part of my story?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's exciting when you look at it that way. Yes?
Yes.
So look at it that way. It's up to you. Completely, utterly up to you. Isn't it?
I guess in the end, there's only me.
That's it. Only you. Because even though there are others, the only way you interact with anyone is by creating your version of them out of your energy in your reality. Still you're interacting with, even though you're also interacting with others. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So tell whatever story you want, populate it with whatever characters you prefer. It's your story. Yes? Physical reality, as you call it, as we have said many times, is a reflection of your state of being, your state of consciousness. There really is nothing outside of you. You're not really in physical reality. Physical reality is within you. It's within your consciousness. It is a concept that you are experiencing of yourself from a certain perspective. However, we understand that the way in which you have chosen to experience your particular dimension of physical experience is as though you are within a realm of space and time, as you call it. But what is that exactly? What is space? What is time? Again, while they are illusionary, you still create the effect of them, the experience of them, in your life experience as a physical being, a physicalized being, so to speak, where you have taken your energy, the high frequency energy of your spirit nature, your non-physical nature, and in a sense have lowered that frequency, crystallized that frequency down into what you call the experience, the matrix of, the structure of physical reality. Now again, this is going on within your consciousness. You're not actually in any place really called physical reality. It's all within. Nevertheless, we understand that the way you chose to experience this makes it appear to be outside of you. So the thing to remember, in order to give yourself more opportunity to choose and experience the kind of physical reality you prefer, the kind of physical reality that you say is more in alignment with your true vibration, is to begin to see and experience physical reality as a reflection, similar to the idea of the reflection that exists in your glass mirrors. You know that when you look at your reflection in a glass mirror, you know that you're not really over there, the reflection in the glass mirror. You don't go to the reflection and attempt to make it change. You must change yourself in order to see the change in the reflection. So physical reality, being a reflection, being a hall of mirrors, operates in much the same kind of modality. Any change you wish to see in the so-called reflection, the outer reality, must begin within the inner reality, which is you, within your consciousness, within your vibration, within your state of being. Now, we understand that in having created this experience called physical reality and having imposed the idea of space and time upon your consciousness, that you have created also the concept called forgetfulness, where you have forgotten that physical reality is not real. But now, in this day and age, you are beginning to remember. That's what this exploration of consciousness, as you call it, is really all about. You're beginning to remember who and what you really are as a being, as a consciousness, and that you are creating, projecting this experience you call physical reality, that it's coming from within you. And so the more you begin to explore this, you find yourself attracted to a myriad of protocols and rituals and tools and techniques and, as we say, permission slips, to give you the opportunity to remind yourselves to remember that you are, in fact, creating all of this, that it's not really out there. It's not happening to you, it's happening through you. So, in these kinds of interactions, in this kind of download of information, we offer you yet one more perspective, a series of ideas, a series of thoughts, a series of points of view that can be used, can be applied in your reality, in your day-to-day physical reality, to aid and assist you in changing in ways that you prefer to, in experiencing life the way you prefer to. First of all, please understand that before we talk about the idea of these changes, and before we talk about the idea of what your mentality is, what your mind is, what your ego is, how you're having this experience, how you're framing it, how you're setting it up, we would like to remind you about the issue of change. Because the idea is not that you have to learn to change. You change all the time. As we have said, you change billions, literally billions of times per second. So quickly, so automatically, so fluidly, so smoothly, so effortlessly, you have forgotten that you're changing all the time. You have forgotten that the person you may be one moment is not the person you are in the next billionth of a second, or the billionth of a second after that, or after that, or after that. You literally become different people billions of times a second. Literally. This is not a metaphor. Literally. You become different people billions of times a second. However, the shifts that you make, the changes that you're making automatically all the time are happening so smoothly, and the changes within one shift to another are so, in a sense, unnoticeable generally by you that you think you're still the same person. You create this illusion, this fluid illusion of continuity. Thus then, the idea is that you think you're not really changing very much. But the fact is, you're changing totally and completely billions of times a second. So the idea within all of this is not that you have to learn how to change. The idea is to learn how to define the next change so that it is different enough so that you can see the difference between the new change and the old one, and by that difference, reveal that you have changed immediately, instantaneously, and automatically. And to do that more and more and more so that you can understand that change is natural to you. It's happening all the time. It's a natural law of creation. All things change, except the first three laws, of course. The idea in that sense is that you exist. That's the first law. The second law, the one is all, the all is one. That's the second law. The third is what you put out is what you get back. That's the third law. The fourth law is everything changes except the first three laws. And that's it. That's all any experience is based on, is those four laws. There are no other. A combination of these ideas are what give you every experience in every level and every dimension of being. Now, as we ask, what is space-time? Cursorily, it is, in a sense, as we said, a structure imposed upon your consciousness, upon the unbroken consciousness of your being, your spirit, your soul, if you wish. The space-time structure itself is your ego. There is no difference between what you call your physical ego mind and the space-time structure. The very existence, the very creation of space-time, of creating the idea of time and space, generates the ego itself. Because you need that perspective in order to experience space-time. An analogy would be, as we have said many times, the idea of a diving mask to explore under the water so you can see clearly. By going into physical reality, by changing your frequency to have a physical reality experience, it's like diving into your ocean. Without the idea of a mask, everything would be very murky. You need the focus so you can see clearly in the new realm, the new environment that you have projected yourself into, that you have, in that sense, dived into. So the ego is that mask. The ego is that lens through which you will experience the idea of physical reality. The ego's job, in a sense, the ego's definition, is just to keep you focused in the physical reality experience. Without that, you would not be capable of making sense out of the vibrations you call physical reality. So, that is why the ego structure is part and parcel of that nature, of that space-time structure. It's one and the same thing. As you create a space-time structure, you create an ego structure in order to experience it. They go hand in hand. They're simultaneously co-existent and co-created. Now, when we say ego structure, again, we don't necessarily mean it in the negative context, because we understand that many people on your planet experience the ego structure in what you call a negative way. The ego's basic job is not negative. In a sense, it's not even really positive per se. It's just neutral. It's just to keep you focused so you can have a physical experience. When the ego structure is given the label or defined as something that must do all of the creating in that experience, when it is given, in a sense, more than it was designed to do, when you stretch it and strain it beyond its design tolerances, so to speak, then it starts to fight back. Then it starts to resist. Then it starts to rebel. Oh, it will do what it can. It will do the best it can. But believe me, by overburdening it with something it was not designed to do, it builds up, in a sense, and I don't mean this emotionally, I mean this physically, it builds up a resistance, like a spring. When you press on it, it resists. It bounces back. The bouncing back is what you experience, in that sense, as resistance in your life, and the idea of the negative ego comes about when there is more and more and more pressure put on the ego to do what it wasn't designed to do, and it rebels and resists and bounces back harder and harder and harder and harder, until such time as that pressure, that resistance becomes the overwhelming signature frequency of the ego structure, and then it creates and generates the idea of a personality out of control, in fear, resisting the natural self because it no longer believes there is anything but the ego structure. Because the ego structure has been given so much energy, so much focus, it becomes the overwhelming, overriding vibration of your life, and it blots out the idea of your ability to remember that you are spirit, to reconnect with the higher mind, so on and so forth. This is why it is so important to relax the idea of the ego to a certain degree, to let it do its job, so that in allowing it to do only what it was designed to do, it can thus let you feel the communication coming through your imagination from the higher mind, manifesting what it is you prefer in your reality, based on some of the principles that we have talked about. And these questions had to do with what appeared to be certain contradictions or misunderstandings of some of these principles. All of this comes from the idea and the notion that the only way to experience the personality is through the belief system that generates the emotions, that generates the thoughts and behaviors in your world. And so by having certain kinds of definitions within the personality structure, those definitions can cause confusion about how to apply some of these principles or how to glean an understanding of the nature of the structure of existence sufficiently to be able to manifest what it is you prefer. So one of the things that we would like to do in this transmission is discuss the particular things that we have said and really explore more precise definitions for you so that there can be more clarity about how to use these principles in a way that will be able to allow you to see how you can manifest what it is that is the vibration of your preference. One of the things that was discussed is the idea that we have said many times, the idea being that to be in the present state is the most important thing over and above the idea of whatever circumstances are happening in physical reality. And the idea that, in a sense, you do not need to make things happen per se. You do not need to manipulate your reality. The idea is that your behavior simply is reflective of the state of being that you are, and thus generates the reflection in the reality. But at the same time, we have also talked about the importance, because you are physicalized beings, of taking physical actions. And so the question that arose was, are not certain actions themselves the idea of trying to engineer or trying to manipulate or trying to bring about a particular goal in reality? The short answer is no. The long explanation is as follows. We will use several analogies to illustrate this point and ideally create some more precise definitions to bring clarity. And this very sentence in and of itself, that we will use several analogies, will be something we will also refer to in a little while. The idea of actions, the idea in a sense of quote unquote trying to make something happen, of in a sense attempting to guide your reality, force your reality down a certain path, doesn't really happen. The only reason it appears this way when we talk about the idea of taking actions is because there is a definition about those actions, a definition about the process, and a definition about the so-called result that are in some senses all confused together, all muddled together. So let us be clear. Many people, and I will be specific about the way the question was framed, attempt to negotiate for something, or are building a house. The question being then thus, when you're negotiating, aren't you attempting to have a certain outcome? Aren't you creating an expectation? Building a house, aren't you actually doing something to force your reality in a certain direction, to, in a sense, make something appear in your reality, being the house? No. The confusion comes from the idea, the confusion comes from the definition that the process, so to speak, is an end to a means, and it's not. Building a house is an experience unto itself. The house, living in it, is an experience unto itself. I know this doesn't make much sense right now in your linear space-time frame of reference, but building a house does not lead to living in the house. Let us give you now a couple of analogies to point out how this is actually so, and maybe this will start to free up some of your definitions that you have bought into for many years in your physical lifetime. One way to clarify some of the ideas of physical reality and the linear space-time framework you've created is to, for the purposes of the illustration, for the purposes of the analogy, eliminate the space-time reference so that you can create a perspective, and by that perspective, by that difference of having no space-time, see what is going on in space-time. Many of you already know that in spirit, there really is no time lag. As soon as you imagine something, as soon as you think of something, it appears. You experience it immediately. So let's take this analogy from the spirit perspective. This analogy of, quote unquote, building a house. You all know that in spirit, because time does not exist in the same way, you can do anything in any order. So you could suddenly imagine yourself living in a house. Oh yes, here I am. Poof, there it is. I'm in it, I'm living in it. And then You could say, now I would like to experience the experience of building a house after living in the house. And poof, there you are, building a house. From the linear space-time perspective, seemingly backwards, making no sense. Well, how can you live in the house before you build the house? I don't get it. But the point of this illustration is to point out that these are individual events that really have no continuity connection. Each is its own experience, and the confusion will disappear when you define them as their own experiences, having no connection to another experience except the connection you create, which is another experience unto itself. So even though we understand that, generally speaking, in linear space-time, you go about building a house in order to create a house, you are actually not using the building of the house, not mechanically, to actually create the house. What you're doing is creating the experience of building a house for its own sake, on its own terms, as a reality experience. The belief systems that you have bought into, the generally agreed upon beliefs of the consensus reality that you have bought into, simply says and simply creates beliefs within you that say, I can't just manifest the house. I have to build it first. I have to have the experience called building a house before I can manifest the house. But the experience of building the house is really its own experience, its own manifestation. And when the house is there, that actually is a completely different, separate reality manifestation. But you make a connection between the two because of the belief system framework within your consciousness, within your ego structure. If you can begin to look at every single moment as its own reality for its own sake, with its own definition of being a moment equal to all other moments of experience, you can start to break this continuity experience down. You can begin to dissolve it so that you actually can begin, if you want to, if you prefer to, if there is need to, if there's relevance to, you can actually begin to see skippages, if you will, in space and time. You can actually leap over certain steps and start to manifest things in a way that precludes the need for what you heretofore called the necessary means to the end or the process. However, one of the reasons you designed the experience of physical reality was to experience the idea called process, was to experience that for its own sake. So the idea is that many beings actually learn something of themselves by having the experience, by creating the experience with their belief systems of building a house. That's something they believe they require, that they prefer, in order to learn certain things to grow as a being, to grow as a spirit, to grow as a consciousness. When you understand it that way, then it's all well and good to know that you're creating the experience of that leading to the house, but what we're describing here is the actual mechanical reality. The building of the house and the living of the house are two completely different events that are not really created in that sense to be linked until you link them. Let us give you another analogy, perhaps again to help clarify this issue. You are at one of your fine earth restaurants. The server comes up to you and says, "What would you like to drink?" You order your drink. "May I interest you in an appetizer?" You order your appetizer. "What would you like as your main course?" You order your main course. "Can I interest you in a little dessert?" You order your dessert. "Would you like some coffee, tea, or an after-dinner drink?" You order that and are satisfied with the continuity of your meal from beginning to end. All right, now let's go into a parallel reality restaurant in a more metaphysical world. The metaphysical server comes up and the first thing they say is, "Would you like an after-dinner drink?" Well, wait a minute, you say. I just came from this other reality where first they ask you if you'd like something to drink before the meal. I haven't gotten to the after-dinner drink yet. I haven't had the dinner yet. "So," says the waiter, "can you not order an after-dinner drink before the dinner? Why not?" And you go, "Well, I suppose I could." And then, would you like dessert, or would you like the appetizer last? Or in what order would you actually prefer the meal?
Well, now that you mention it, I guess I could change some things up into a different order. I guess I don't have to go by that structure.
Unwilling to let themselves surrender to the true nature of their being. Many of you stand right on the edge, right on the threshold of falling into total unconditional love with yourselves, but you just can't quite bring yourselves to believe that that's okay. It's okay. Fall in love with yourselves. You deserve it. All right?
I've been having a lot of deja vu, which is where I have my
Deja
in my
vu, do you
dreams.
know what that is?
A harmonization of different realities.
When they talk about the idea of space-time, talk about time in a certain way that it is always relentlessly marching to the future. The forward arrow of time. They say, well, it only goes forward. There is no reverse arrow of time. Well, there is. Reverse arrow of time is responsible for what you call memory. And it is also that when you are truly at the center of yourself, truly at the center of your being, truly at the center of your reality, you can sometimes experience both the forward and reverse arrows of time simultaneously, standing in the very center of that flow. That's why deja vu is, you know what's about to happen because it already did. Forward arrow of time, reverse arrow of time overlapping. That means you are standing in the very center of your being, of the creational matrix of your being, at the nexus of where you create your reality from, to give yourself the ability to know that at that moment when you experience that, you are totally unlocked from any particular conception, preconception, misconception, or direction or orientation, and you can decide in that moment when you are free floating between the arrows of time, where and when you will choose to crystallize your direction of creation. Sound exciting? All right, so the next time you allow yourself to experience deja vu, know in that moment that you can thus impose upon that free-flowing moment any crystalline pattern that you desire that represents the vision and the image of your preferred reality in all of its glory. As we have discussed, that whatever vision your physical mind comes up with that represents your so-called ideal reality is just a symbol. It can come true that way, it can manifest exactly as you've seen it, but it does not have to. It is an energy symbol that represents the vibrational state you prefer. Then, once you have the symbol, let it go. Completely let it go. Do not insist it must manifest that way, the way your physical mind has seen it, because your physical mind is not capable of imagining what your higher mind is capable of bringing you that could be many times greater than what the physical mind imagined. As we have said, what to the physical mind is the ceiling, to the higher mind is the floor. Let it go up from there and simply take its cue from the energy represented in the vision, in the image, and bring you the version of that manifestational reality that is truly representative of the best for you and all concerned, without insisting that if it doesn't happen exactly the way the physical mind saw it, that something is wrong. You follow?
Yes.
Is this exciting?
Yes, it is.
All right. Thank you very much for allowing us to reflect these ideas with you.
Thanks.
The analogy we often use is one of your old automobile engines. They were very simplistic. They could chug along. They could be filthy, dirty, covered in mud. They would still chug along because there were just a few moving parts. They could easily overwhelm any dirt, any filth. In your high-tech age, you now have these high-tolerance, high-tech engines that vibrate at high speeds and have very fine tolerances of machine parts moving in proximity to one another. The tiniest little speck of dirt getting in the way will freeze the entire operation, no matter how sophisticated the engine is. The idea of transforming negative things that are not in alignment with your true self is like one of these tiny, tiny, tiny little specks of dirt. Blowing that little speck out of the way will allow the engine to start again. So the idea is that what we are saying is that many times we perceive that many of you have these high-tech engines and you're vibrating, but you're frozen, and you're frozen by the tiniest little dust mote. It may seem to be profoundly huge to you because the whole engine is stopped. But very often, all it takes is the tiniest mote of dust to stop that gigantic engine because it's operating on such a high frequency. So, if you're that close to the edge, if you are willing to allow yourself to really push yourself and just really blow that tiny little speck out of the way, even though it may seem to be an overwhelming, fearful thing, you will find that you will be operating on that high frequency again very rapidly, and it actually didn't take that much to blow that speck away. Being on the edge is willingness to understand that you really are always, always, always just about that close to being your true self, because all it takes is a shift, a conviction, and a commitment to be and define yourself as to who you really prefer to be, regardless of anything that has ever happened to you, regardless of any so-called past patterns and habits and so on and so forth. all the processes you go through, here's the secret, all the processing you go through themselves doesn't actually make the change. You make the change when you decide to make the change. And you simply use the process as a gauge, as a barometer for when you believe you're ready to make the change. But the processes don't actually help you make the change. In fact, many times you use process as a delay mechanism to make the change, because you can make the change at any time. And that's what we're talking about when we say you're always right on the edge, right on the threshold. All you have to do is take that one step and you'll be there. But many of you fill the distance between this and this with a whole lot of processes, gauging whether you have changed based on whether the outside is changed or not. If you say you want unconditional happiness, what is preventing you from simply being unconditionally happy no matter what's going on around you? Why are you gauging the idea of whether you're happy or not on whether or not it is reflected in the outer world, which is an illusion, instead of simply knowing that you are choosing to be happy? Why? Because there is no other choice for you. The relationship will not make you happy. You will make you happy, and that will be reflected in a relationship. Nothing in the outer world can make you happy. You make you happy, then it's reflected in the outer world. But the point is, to use your word, but, the point is when we say follow your excitement with integrity and without expectation, we mean it. Zero expectation. Zero. Because you don't need it. You don't need anything out there to make you happy, because nothing out there can make you happy. Only you can decide to be happy. It's a decision. That's it. It's a decision. It's a choice. And the only reason you would make the choice to be unconditionally happy is because you have no other choice. You do not prefer any other choice. So be happy no matter what's going on, and then no matter what happens, you'll be happy.
Okay.
It's really that simple. I understand that to many humans it sounds overly simplistic and not realistic.
Okay.
Depends on what reality you want. Do you prefer to be unconditionally happy?
Yes.
Then why are you placing conditions on your unconditional happiness? Remember when we said, oh yes, unconditional except for this one condition. You need to learn the meaning of the word unconditional. Unconditional. My happiness is not predicated on anything but me deciding to be happy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does this help?
Yes.
Are you happy? Yes, but...
I'll knock that a little bit out.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are happy to be of help. Unconditionally happy to be of help. Because if you decide not to help yourself, we're still unconditionally happy. Because it's your reality and your choice and your decision. And we would never, ever take that away from you. That's how much we love you. Unconditionally. You are all so unconditionally loved that sometimes you are even allowed to believe that you're not unconditionally loved. That's how unconditionally loved you are. Do remember that in reality, you're actually not standing in front of anyone but reflections of yourself. Remember, even though there are other beings, the only way you can perceive them is to create your version of them in your reality. So everything you're seeing is actually your creation. So it's your group. What are you afraid of? All just you. In different ways, in different perspectives, that's all. So really, you're talking to yourself right now in an empty room. The planets, in a sense that you are talking about astrologically, are a reflection, and for those that are intuitive enough to use that particular permission slip in a certain way, they could see that how the reflections might be representative of certain energies and themes that you've decided to explore and how they might be unfolding. But remember, it's just a permission slip. It's just a reflection. Remember that the universe is always sending. It's up to you to open up to be receptive to what is always being sent. No invitation is necessary, no request is necessary, except that the idea of placing yourself in an attitude of grace and gratitude in what you call prayer in the present tense is aligning with an energy that allows you to become receptive of what is always being sent. So when you ask for it, it's not like it wasn't sent before that. Putting yourself in that proper state simply makes you a better receptive antenna for the energy that's already being sent. It's already present everywhere. It's not even really being sent. because that implies it's coming from somewhere to somewhere else, when in fact it simply is everywhere, because there is only here and now. All right, so in that context, you are the portal.